Hello, my dear. The phone rang on a Wednesday, just after dinner. I remember because I had just finished scrubbing the roasting pan. My hands still smelled of rosemary and burnt fat. The voice on the other end cracked through the years like a ghost with skin. "Hi, Ma. It's me, Adam." My heart dropped into the soapy sink. For a full second, I thought it was a prank. 13 years. 13 years since he walked out the door and vanished. And now, suddenly, when the house had marble countertops and imported rugs, when my name was inked on property deeds and offshore accounts, he decides to come home? I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I smiled. Just like that. "Hello, darling," I said. "Where are you?" He was 3 miles away, and I told him, "Come." I'd waited half my life for that knock. But when it came, something inside me stayed eerily still. Like a lake before a storm. He stood on my porch in an old hoodie, eyes hollow, hair longer than I remembered. Thinner, too. He hugged me. Hard. "Ma," he whispered, "I'm so sorry." I hugged him back. Of course I did. That's what mothers do. But in my mind, I was already opening drawers, flipping locks in memory. Not one day had passed in those 13 years when I hadn't wondered, is he alive? Is he safe? Or, God forgive me, has he simply chosen to forget me? And now here he was, safe and shivering, holding nothing but his regret. Inside, I made tea. That felt like the right thing to do. I laid out the expensive kind, from Fortnum and Mason, not the cheap bags I used to buy when we counted every coin. He drank it like he hadn't had warm comfort in years. "You look good, Ma," he said, glancing around. "This place is—" "Wow." I laughed gently. It took a while. But yes, things are different now. He didn't ask how I made my money. Not that night. But I could feel the question hovering between every glance at the gold-framed photos, the gleaming staircase, the stupidly large chandelier. Instead, he said, "I missed you every day." And I nodded. But inside me, a war began. Because I wanted to believe him. Oh, I wanted to. But 13 years is a very long time. And I knew something he didn't. I wasn't the same woman he left. And I wasn't the kind of mother who would ignore a shadow in the doorway. He was back now, but that didn't mean I would let him stay. The next morning, I watched him from the kitchen window as he smoked a cigarette in the garden. He was pacing, his shoulders hunched, his eyes scanning the ground like it held answers he was too afraid to ask me for. Same garden he used to dig in as a boy, looking for buried treasure. I remembered that little boy. God, I remembered. The scraped knees, the way he'd drag home strays, birds with broken wings, kittens no bigger than a fist. That boy used to press his ear against my chest just to hear the ocean inside my heart, as he once put it. But that boy was gone. This man, this gaunt, nervous man in my backyard, he was someone else entirely, and I needed to know what he wanted. We sat down to breakfast. I made eggs, toast, fresh coffee. He didn't touch a bite. "Ma," he said finally, I need to explain." I just smiled. "Then do." He stared at his plate. "I left because of the debt. I owed some dangerous people. I was 21, stupid, scared. I didn't want to drag you into it." That part, I believed. He looked up, eyes glassy. And then, I couldn't come back. Not even when it got better. Not after so long. The shame. Shame. Such a slippery word. He rubbed his hands together. "I never stopped thinking about you. I followed you online, saw the bakery take off, then the TV interviews, and that article in Forbes." Ah, there it was, the breadcrumb trail he'd followed home. When my name hit Forbes, my phone exploded with relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Fourth cousins, neighbors, Even the man who once fixed our boiler wrote me a long message about how he always believed in me. But Adam? Not a word. Until now. And now he was sitting in my kitchen, broke and brave, trying to rewrite the ending. "Do you think," he asked softly, "I could stay a while?" That's when I laughed. A real, hard laugh that startled even me. "Stay? In this house?" I raised my eyebrows. "After 13 years? And no funeral?" He flinched. "I thought you'd understand." I did understand, but I also understood people. He needed money. That was the truth hanging in the air, thick and sour. I reached across the table and took his hand. It trembled. "You can stay," I said. "Of course you can. We'll take it slow." I smiled again, but this time it wasn't the smile of a mother reunited with her lost son. It was the smile of a woman who had been burned once and had learned to keep her matches dry. And in that moment, I decided something quietly, deep in my chest. I would give him what he came for, just not in the way he expected. By the 3rd week, he was settled in like he'd never left. Slippers by the door, dirty socks under the couch, half-empty cereal boxes in the pantry. He'd even rearranged the mugs without asking me, put his favorite chipped one right in front. And still, not once did he mention work. Not once did he offer to pay for groceries, the gas bill, anything. He'd spend hours on the back patio, on his phone, scrolling like it was a job. He told me he was figuring things out, said he just needed a little time to get on his feet. I nodded, smiled, but inside I was counting. Every plate he chipped, every late morning he slept through, every time he said, "You don't mind, do you, Ma?" and took just a little bit more. And then, one afternoon, I found the envelope. I wasn't snooping, I was cleaning. His old habit of leaving drawers half open had returned. In the side table near the guest bed, tucked beneath a stack of receipts and a pack of chewing gum, was a thick envelope. My name was written on it. Inside, photographs. Of me, taken from afar, through shop windows, across parking lots. At my bakery opening, my charity gala, even one of me exiting the lawyer's office where I'd updated my will. They weren't artistic shots. No, these were surveillance. I sat down, my knees weak, my mouth went dry. Why? Why would my son, my Adam, be collecting photos of me like this? Unless he wasn't watching me out of love. Unless he wasn't just following my rise out of pride. I returned the envelope exactly where I found it, not a fold disturbed. I smiled at dinner. I asked about his day. He said he'd gone for a walk, the same walk he'd apparently taken every day since he got back. Funny, though, I'd never seen his shoes muddy. The next morning, I made a call. Detective Liska still owed me a favor. Years ago, after the bakery break-in, she'd gone above and beyond, kept me safe. We stayed in touch, met for coffee now and then. "I need quiet eyes on someone," I said. "No arrests, just watch." She didn't ask who. She didn't need to. "He's your son, Maria," she said gently. I swallowed. He was. By the end of the week, she had answers. He wasn't in debt, not anymore. He had a girlfriend in another city, a lawyer no less. They were living together until a few months ago, when her firm began investigating him for fraud. He'd drained her accounts. And before that? An older woman in Seattle, a brief engagement, gone along with her savings. My stomach turned. Adam, my baby, my boy who used to cry over squashed caterpillars, who once gave me a macaroni necklace and said, "It's made of love, not pasta." That boy was gone, and in his place was someone who smiled just the same, called me Ma just the same, but had learned how to lie so beautifully you'd think it was love. He was here for money. He was always going to ask. But now I was ready. I would give him what he came for. I would play the part. And then I would end it. He asked me 3 nights later. It was raining, that soft, whispery kind of rain that makes the world feel like it's holding its breath. We were sitting by the fireplace, him sipping whiskey from the cut-glass decanter he hadn't asked permission to use. I'd just come back from my meeting with the foundation board. He knew I'd had a long day. That's when he did it. "Ma," he said, turning toward me, his voice a shade too smooth. "I've been thinking about starting something of my own. A wellness brand. You know, holistic stuff. Organic teas, supplements, that kind of thing." I said nothing. I just kept folding the edge of my shawl over my wrist. He leaned forward. "I just need some seed money. Not a lot. I mean, for you it's nothing." That last word, nothing. Like the last 13 years. Like the nights I wept on the kitchen floor, clutching his baby photo in one hand and a cold cup of tea in the other. I tilted my head. "How much?" He didn't hesitate. 50, maybe 60,000. There it was, the number. Not the truth, not remorse, not even the decency to say please. Just a price tag. I nodded slowly. "Of course, darling." His eyes lit up. That same flash I saw when he was 5, and I told him he could keep the puppy. He reached for my hand. "Ma, thank you. I swear this will change everything." "Oh, it will," I said. And it would, because I had already written the check. I had also already spoken to my lawyer. The funds would be transferred into a new business account I controlled. One he thought was his. Every dollar he spent, every move he made, I would see. And more importantly, so would the authorities. I wanted him to take the money. I needed him to, because only then would the paper trail begin. He kissed my cheek that night, told me I was the best mother in the world. I watched him walk upstairs, his footsteps light, almost boyish. But I saw him for what he was now. A man who had weaponized absence. A man who had traded in love like counterfeit bills. I didn't cry. Not anymore. Instead, I poured myself a drink. One of the old glasses, chipped on the rim, from the days when I couldn't afford fine things. It felt right in my hand, heavy, honest. This was the beginning of the end. But I would let it play out slowly. He thought he'd fooled me, but I had one thing he hadn't accounted for. Time. Time to wait. Time to let him build the noose with my money. And when he did, I would tighten it, with a mother's hands. 2 weeks passed. He bloomed like spring, bought himself a new watch, the kind that glinted when he waved his wrist just so. Said it was a symbol of commitment to his future. Opened that fake business account, even had business cards printed. Adam Lowell, founder, Wholeness Naturals. He gave one to my gardener. My gardener just nodded politely, then handed it to me later with raised eyebrows. I kept a box in my closet now, a plain wooden thing filled with little relics, receipts, screenshots, surveillance photos from Liska's team. There was even a copy of the business plan Adam had emailed to himself, full of stolen phrases from wellness websites and buzzwords strung together like fairy lights. And right at the top, seed funding graciously provided by my mother, Maria Lowell. Graciously. That was rich. Every night, I sat by the fire with a glass of wine and added to the box. Every day, I watched him dance through my home like a man who believed he had won. He didn't see the lawyer visits, didn't see the calls I made, the careful steps I took to protect every asset, the trust I moved offshore, the clause I added to my will, stating that any heir who defrauded me, or attempted to, would forfeit their inheritance entirely. He'd get nothing. Not now, not ever. But I couldn't just push him out yet. No, not until I had everything I needed. And so I played the mother, I praised his new website. I asked him to show me the logo drafts. I even pretended to believe he had potential investors in Portugal. Portugal? I said, eyes wide. Yup, he grinned. The wellness scene there is booming. He was like a child again, spinning his fantasy. Only this time, the toys were real. And then came the gala. Every year, I hosted a charity event for a scholarship fund in your grandfather's name. The media always showed up, and I'd learned to tolerate the flashbulbs. Adam insisted on attending. Might be good exposure, he said, straightening his cufflinks. He shook hands, posed for photos, made connections he didn't deserve. And near the end of the night, I watched him slip a card to one of the sponsors' wives. Saw the way her smile dropped, just for a second, before she folded the card into her clutch like a dead thing. The next morning, I called her. Yes, she said. He made a pitch, asked for a short-term loan of $20,000, promised to double it, spoke with charm, desperation. She didn't bite, but she was concerned. That made two of us. It was time. I arranged a final meeting, told him a friend, a wealthy one, was interested in investing. Come by tomorrow, I said. Bring your paperwork. He grinned, kissed my forehead. Thanks, Ma. I knew I could count on you. That night, I sat in the quiet, wrapped in a blanket, the box in my lap. I opened the final envelope, Liska's report, everything, his aliases, his exes, the charges dropped and pending, the identity theft, the stolen Social Security numbers. He hadn't just been lost. He'd been hiding. From me, from everyone. But now he was found, and tomorrow he would know it. The house felt cavernous without him. Funny how even a ghost can make noise. Open cabinets, shuffle cards, trail cologne in the hallway. But once he left, it was like the air thickened. No footsteps, no half-lies over breakfast. Just me and the ticking clock above the stove. I didn't rush to fill the space. I let it breathe. Let myself breathe. For the first time in weeks, I cooked just for myself. Lamb stew, slow and tender, the way I like it. I even had a glass of red, no one there to pour a second without asking. I set the table for one, and it didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. And yet, the ache didn't disappear. I kept looking at the door, expecting something, maybe a letter, maybe another lie, dressed up as apology. But nothing came. Then, a week later, the package arrived. No return address, just my name, written in his handwriting, the same crooked scrawl from his childhood notes. Inside, a photograph of us, taken at Coney Island. He was 7. I had my arm around him, our faces smeared with salt and sun, and something like real happiness. On the back, he'd written only one sentence. You were never the fool I was. I sat down right on the hallway floor, the photo in my hand, and cried like I hadn't in years. Not neat little tears either. Ugly ones, loud ones. And I hated him for that, for still knowing how to pull my heart like a string. But I didn't call him, didn't text. I placed the photo inside the wooden box with the rest, the receipts, the lies, the plans, the beautiful failure of it all. I don't know what he'll do now. Maybe he'll try again, somewhere else. Maybe he'll change. That's not mine to manage anymore. All I know is he came to take something from me. And in the end, I gave it freely. Not the money, not the house. Something deeper. The part of me that still waited by the window. That part is gone now. And what remains is mine. The days rolled into weeks, and though his presence no longer haunted my halls, his shadow lingered in quieter ways. People asked. Of course they did. Friends from the board, women from church, even the barista at the cafe who'd once seen him kiss my cheek and say, "Love you, Ma." I had my answers prepared. He's doing his own thing. He moved on. We're in touch. All lies, but soft ones. The kind that protect not just me, but the parts of him I still wasn't ready to throw away. I spent more time at the bakery again. The girls were thrilled. They said it felt like old times. Me in my apron, flour on my hands, humming Sinatra while kneading dough. One afternoon, as I was piping lemon cream onto a tray of tarts, Liska came by. She leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching me. "You never pressed charges," she said. "No," I replied without looking up. "I never planned to." She nodded slowly. "I don't get it. After everything." I wiped my hands. "Because punishment isn't always the point." She didn't argue. Just let it hang there between us like steam. Before she left, she said, "You know, I see a lot of endings. But this one still feels open." I thought about that all night. Was it open or just unfinished? Truth is, I'd written him out of my life on paper, but not in heart, not fully. That's the cruel thing about love. It survives places it has no business being. Then came the call. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer. "Ma?" His voice was small, dry, like he'd swallowed sand. "I won't stay long," he said. I need to tell you something." I didn't speak. "I sold the watch," he continued. "The one you gave me when I turned 16. I needed the money. I'm sorry." Silence. "But I kept the photo, the one from Coney Island." I waited. "I'm not asking for anything," he added quickly. I wanted to say I think about you every day." And then, click, he was gone. I stood there, phone in hand, not angry, not relieved, just tired. I didn't call him back, but I didn't erase the number either. Some ties, I've learned, don't snap clean. They fray, they unravel over time, soft and slow. Maybe one day I'll pick up again. Maybe not. What I know now is that the worst isn't the loss of someone you love. It's the moment you realize they're not who you thought they were, and never were. And you love them anyway. That's the part no one warns you about. I don't tell this story often, Not because it's painful, though it is, but because most people don't know what to do with a story that doesn't tie up neatly in the end. They want the bow, the redemption, the mother and son hugging in a sunlit doorway. But life, real life, doesn't always bend that way. I did become a millionaire. Yes. I built something from nothing with these two hands. Hands that once bled peeling potatoes and now signed checks with silver fountain pens. And he came back. When the house had warmed, when the lights were on, and the doors opened easily. He came not to heal, but to harvest. And I let him. I let him believe I was still the woman who made his school lunches and tucked $5 bills in his coat pockets. I played that part so well he forgot I had changed too. But I had. The old Maria, the one who cried over his silence, who begged God nightly to return her son, she died somewhere around year 7. The woman who stood in her place, she had learned that love, without boundaries, is not love. It's surrender. I don't hate him. That would be too easy. Instead, I carry him like a scar, a reminder of what it costs to keep hoping when someone's already chosen a different path. And I've stopped pretending that I failed him. He made choices. So did I. He walked out, and I eventually closed the door. I still have the photo, the one from Coney Island. I keep it near the bakery register now, in a little brass frame. Customers always comment on it. What a sweet boy, what a happy day. And I nod, smile, because it was a happy day. And that, I've decided, is enough. We are allowed to keep the good, even when the ending breaks our hearts. That's my wisdom, my love. Love deep. But don't be afraid to let go. and when someone returns only to take, smile kindly and do what you have to.